Summer has come and gone, my friends, and today we're doing a roundup of all the things that I sewed during my Sustainable Summer Wardrobe series. I did a lot of shorts, not too many long form videos, and today I just want to talk to you about everything that I liked, didn't like, what I do a little bit differently, and give you little insights. So let's get into it. Let's start with the shorts. These shorts came out so cute, but unfortunately a size too big. And I think that's mostly my fault because I was limited on fabric and supplies and altered the pattern waistband. Also, these shorts were made as part of a pattern testing group, so the pattern I used was still a work in progress at the time of construction. Since finishing these shorts back in June, the pattern has been updated and released to the public, and the pattern is designed by the Sample Room, which is based out of Portland, Oregon, and focuses on sustainable circular pattern designs. Definitely check them out if you're looking for easy to follow patterns designed in the US. Because I wanted my project to be circular as well, I used these shants that I got at the Goodwill outlet bins. I picked apart all of the seams and then I sewed a lot of pieces back together to make the pieces big enough for the pattern pieces. This process of making it circular took a substantial amount of time, and if I were to do this pattern over again, I would just, use one piece of fabric that was large enough to cut all the pieces from. This would cut down on the construction time and make the end product a lot more wearable and comfortable. My favorite part about these shorts are the gusset. I think it makes them look really cute and adds a lot of room and flexibility. I need to alter these so that they don't fall off of me, but that's for another video. Another part of these shorts that I really like are the pockets. They're invisible pockets. So when you don't have your hands inside of them, they just lay flat and you can't really tell that they're there. But one thing that I would change is I would serge the end seams of the pockets. That wasn't in the original pattern, so I didn't do it for the testing. The next thing that I sewed was this adorable batik tank top. I used a vintage sewing pattern and this remnant scrap piece of batik fabric. When I started, I only had about 3/4 of a yard of this batik fabric, so I knew I had to choose a pattern that was small and didn't have a lot of pattern pieces so that it would all fit. The pattern calls for making your own bias tape, and this was the first time that I tried making my own bias tape by hand, and it turned out so good. I'm sort of low key obsessed with this process of making your own bias tape out of an 18 by 18-inch square. You cut it along the diagonal and then you draw lines that are about 2 inches apart and then sew it in a circle, cut it all up, and that forms this one long strand that you make into your magic bias tape. This was also my first taste of YouTube success this summer, where the short that I posted about this got about 85,000 views. I really love how the project turned out, but wearing the batik shirt is a little bit of a different struggle because every time you look at it, it basically wrinkles and there's no stretch because it's 100% cotton. But I still really like it and I would definitely do this project over again, but I might choose a fabric that has a little bit more stretch in it so that it's more comfortable to wear, especially on really hot days. You'll also have to excuse all of my outfits in this video because at the time of recording, it's laundry day and I'm just wearing basically the only clothes that I have clean. This is where my streak of positive sewing ended for a minute when I was working on this long flowy skirt in this flowery blue fabric. This is the only fabric that I purchased new and online for my summer sewing, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it. The design and the color and the feel of the fabric are spot on, super cute, and my personal favorite colors to wear and very, very soft. However, oh my God, the fabric was a nightmare to work with. If I'm being honest with you, it was probably more of a user error. I should have made a few more modifications to both my straight stitch and my overlock machines, but in hindsight, that's 2020. The fabric was really difficult to work with, and I think the next time I use it, because I've still got about 4 yards of this stuff, I will definitely be using stabilization tape and honing in my sewing machines better. The pattern that I ended up using for this dress was a thrifted and vintage simplicity pattern, which is number 9243. It's a really cute length and only has a couple of pattern pieces if you include the pockets, which I admittedly cut off in the process of making this skirt. I couldn't get the fabric to align correctly, but if I used a sturdier fabric like 100% cotton, I'm sure I wouldn't have had such a difficult time with it. I would also do a rolled hem at the bottom next time. Which, admittedly, I should note that I haven't actually hemmed this. It's just serged at the bottom. I haven't finished it because I'm so traumatized. Next, I made a matching top and bottom two-piece set from a striped shower curtain. I had a lot of fun making this set, and it was my first time using a shower curtain for a project. Honestly, when I first thrifted this curtain, I thought it was just a regular window curtain, but then I realized the top part was all crinkly and had this plastic in it, which is usually indicative of a shower curtain. It was 100% linen, and if I remember correctly, it was from the Target Magnolia Home series, but I thrifted it from Goodwill Outlet, which I paid for by the pound. Let's start with the top. This is the Handsy top pattern from Seamwork, and at the time of recording, it's still available for free on their website. This pattern is designed for beginner sewists in mind, and it was really easy to construct. It was perfect for the linen shower curtain fabric too. In terms of the look of this shirt, I absolutely love the scoop neckline and the fit of the shirt. I think next time I make it, I'll use a lighter interfacing and will lengthen the shirt about 3 inches since I have a longer torso and I like to cover my bum a bit when I'm wearing it with jeans. I highly recommend this pattern if you have some linen on hand and you only have about a day to make a shirt. I'm a huge fan of Seamwork patterns, and if you'd like to sign up for a Seamwork membership, there's an affiliate link in my description. Dingle, that's my pattern. Okay, come on. You gotta go outside now. For the matching skirt, I used a newer Simplicity pattern, and I actually bought this pattern online because I couldn't find a skirt pattern that I really liked. It's number 1887. The skirt sewed up relatively quickly, though the waistband directions were a little confusing, and I remember sewing it incorrectly the first time and then ripping out the seams to resew it. I also added top stitching, which wasn't in the original directions, and I lengthened the skirt by about 2 inches. My favorite part about the skirt is the elastic waistline that is flat in the front and the elastic is gathered in the back. And I think this design made the skirt more flattering on me. Overall, I would definitely make the handsy top and the simplicity skirt again, maybe in heavier, moodier colored fabric for a fall outfit. But I think this was a really good use of the shower curtain and I love the linen. I definitely struck gold at the Goodwill outlet bins and thrifted this beautiful vintage king size bedsheet. The first bedsheet project I worked on was this cute mid-length dress. I thrifted the pattern from an estate sale that was right around the corner from my house. It's a made by Ray pattern that was recently rebranded and re-released as the Trillium dress. And I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but I absolutely loved this pattern and would definitely make it again. I didn't read the pattern all the way through, and I got to a point in the middle of this project where I had to stop and wait for the elastic thread delivery. I tried sewing with elastic thread for the very first time, and it was so much easier than I originally thought. I watched a few YouTube videos about shearing and sewing with elastic thread, and here are 4 tips that made the shearing really easy. Number one, the elastic thread only goes in the bottom bobbin. The top thread is the regular thread you've been sewing with the entire time. My second tip is to wind the bobbin by hand. And I know this sounds laborious, but it really only takes a couple of minutes because the elastic is a lot thicker. But if you don't do this part, then your tension is not going to turn out correctly. My third tip is to use a second bobbin and loosen it so that the thread moves easily through your machine. My last tip is more of a reminder to always practice on a scrap piece of fabric to get your stitch length perfect and make sure that the tension is where you want it before you start sewing on your actual project. I really like how the shirring came out, and I think it gave the dress a lot of shape and made it really flattering on me. I did a simple hem on the bottom to give it a little bit of weight, and I finished off the arm side with a matching bias tape. Overall, this dress was my favorite thing that I sewed this summer, and I would definitely make this pattern over again, maybe in a solid with some embroidery. The dress would also be cute in a wool for cooler temperatures, perfect for tights and a sweater. When I was finished with the bedsheet dress, I took a break from sewing for myself and I made my partner a button down shirt. I used a quick sew pattern that I picked up at the same estate sale that I found my dress pattern at, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into with making this one. Even though this is a quote unquote quick sew pattern, I'd put this at more of a weekend or week long project, though I actually ended up sewing most of this in one day due to some time constraint. The reason that I sewed this shirt up in one night is because my partner and I were going to a wedding and he needed a shirt to wear. I was already planning to wear my floral bedsheet dress, and because I had so much of this fabric left over, I asked if it'd be okay if I made his shirt out of the same fabric. Thank goodness he's got a great personality and thought it'd be sort of funny to wear matching outfits to this wedding. This was not a black tie wedding by any means. It was actually at our friend's house in the woods, and the invitation said specifically to wear color and choose for dancing in the grass. All night long, my partner told everyone that I was the artist when people asked where we got our matching outfits. I got to tell them how I made both of them from the same bed sheet. And needless to say, this was a great conversation starter, and I met a lot of people that way. It was so much fun wearing matching outfits. I highly recommend it, and I would definitely do it again. Moving on, after the bedsheet dress and shirt combo, I wanted a bit of a break from clothes, so I chose to do a little patchwork and turn that into the front of a crossbody bag. I consider myself a novice quilter, but you only ever improve at something when you practice. So this practice bag came out cute, but I want to get better at piecing. Specifically, I want my corners to match up better. The block that I made was a painted daisy pattern from the Big Book of Quilt Blocks, which I got, you guessed it, from my favorite local thrift store. The directions were really easy to follow, and I found myself enjoying sewing all the little bits together to make something new. It was relaxing and a nice change from sewing clothes. I think this bag turned out a little bit better than my last two bags because I used extra stiff interfacing that gave this bag a rigidity that I was looking for. I also lined the bag with the same floral bedsheet fabric that I've been working with, and I made two pockets on the outside. I boxed the corners and I made adjustable strap with a bow closure at the top. And when I was putting this all together, I almost forgot about two of my sewing projects. The first one is a cute little headband that I made out of a scrap piece of fabric that I've had in my stash for ages. It's super cute, it was easy to sew up, and it turned out pretty good. I've decided that I'm not really a headband type of person, but I like to try new things out. The other project that I almost forgot about was when I upcycled this men's extra large Hawaiian shirt into a bucket hat. I really loved this project. It was really fun. It was from a free pattern that I'll leave a link in the description. It was super easy to sew up and it was scrap busting. So there's the Hawaiian shirt on the outside and then this purple fabric that I have been hoarding in my stash for what probably seems like years now. The two fabrics came together really nicely and I got to wear it all summer long. It's a little oversized, which means that it also fits my boyfriend who stole it from me during one of our trips this summer when he lost his hat. And I've also just been wearing it in the garden and hanging out with it. I really liked it. I'd do it again. I might make it a little bit smaller, do it in another color. It was a good hat. I like this project. I sewed so many things this summer and I would call it a complete success. Of course, there was a couple of projects that I didn't really like how they turned out, which number one was the blue long flowy dress, which was really more user error, but the fabric I'm still really traumatized from. And then my favorite project, hands down, was my floral bedsheet dress. That one came out so good, and I had so much fun wearing matching outfit to my friend's wedding. I really want to have like a sustainable fall sewing wardrobe too, and I'm kicking it off with my quilted jacket. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and remember, done is better than perfect. I have really terrible lighting in my house.